What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today with this video we'll be doing definite integral intro. So before we start, I'd like to say thank you very much guys for watching, subscribing to the channel, commenting, and also sharing the videos to your friends, not forgetting those who like videos. Thank you very much guys, I really appreciate that. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel and also hit the bell notification so that whenever I upload a video you get a notification. All right guys, before I start with this definite integrals, let me first talk about indefinite integrals so that you can able to distinguish between definite integrals and indefinite integrals. So indefinite integrals is basically the opposite of differentiation. When you do the derivatives, when you go back, basically you're doing indefinite integrals. So how do you see the indefinite integrals? When you're integrating, at the end of your answer you're gonna have your f of x plus c. So this c means constant, and also it means that it's indefinite integral. But when it comes to definite integrals, we do not have the c. So I will show you as we continue with this video how exactly, where is that c that I'm talking about that is not here. So now, before I show you, how about I tell you what is a definite integral. So a definite integral is an integral where the range over which the integral has to be calculated is given. So the range of the integral that you need to calculate is given. So what do they mean by that? So let me just make an example with this graph here. Okay, let's say you're given a graph like this, right? So let's say this graph, it passes like that, and then we have your x-axis and your y-axis there, right? Let's call this graph for now f of x, right? And then let's say it intersects at this point here. Let's call this point x1 and this point x2. All right, so the range could be anywhere within the x-axis, but for this example we're gonna use x1 and x2 as the range because it's given to you. So we're gonna use this to explain exactly the definite integral. So when you calculate, this is how it's supposed to look like. You'll be having a sigma, obviously, because we're still integrating, and then the range that we have here is x2 and x1. Now x2 is the upper limit, which is greater than x1. As you can see from here, from 0 to x2 is kind of far from 0, so it's greater than x1 because it's closer to 0. So this, we call it upper limit, right? Just write it very quickly, right? And then x2, the value of x1, the value of x1, we call it the lower limit. We just call it lower limit, right? And then here we have our f of x, which is our function that we need to integrate. So basically this is how you do the definite integral. So from here, in fact, this is how it is given to you. So from here, how do you actually solve it? How do you apply here, right? So first thing first, you need to integrate your function. So I'm making an example here. Let's say after integrating, this is our answer. We have x plus c. Remember, when you integrate, we have c. So put this in a bracket to show that you have your upper limit, which is x2, and your lower limit, which is x1, right? Then from there, the next step now is time for you to separate these limits. Now the first bracket is gonna be the integral of your function, but with the upper limit, which is x2. And then the second bracket, which is gonna be subtracting, it's gonna be your integral, but then it has the lower limit, which is x1. So it's always like this, guys. The upper limit is subtracted by the lower limit. I hope you understand. Then from here, it's time for you to substitute. So first bracket, it is substituted by the upper limit, which is x2. So when you do some substitution, wherever there is x, you put your upper limit. In this case, our upper limit is x2 plus c, right, or constant here, and then minus. So we have to remove the bracket here, guys, right? So when you remove the bracket, this becomes x1. Remember, we substitute here, but it's going to be minus x1 minus c. As we can see, the c and the c, they subtract each other. You're going to be left with x2 minus x1. So basically, this is how you do definite integral, or this is how you calculate definite integral. Now, most of the time people get confused here. They swap this upper limit and the lower limit. Guys, the upper limit is always the one that is being subtracted by the lower limit. Always, guys, always, right? And also, this also explains why we don't have a constant. We don't have a constant because the constant here, they subtract each other, c minus c, so you're gonna have 0. Hence, you're left with x2 and x1. I hope you guys understand this, because it's not that simple for us to understand when we use these variables here, but I'm gonna try to do it using the numbers. So this here, this formula or this method that we just explained here, we also use it to calculate the area of this portion here. If they say calculate the area here, this is the formula that you're gonna use, by the way. All right, let me just erase and let's try to use actual numbers. Right, now let me erase this. Okay, now let's write the f of x. Let's say our f of x is x squared minus 3x plus 2, right? So when it's like this, it's gonna intersect at 1 and 2, right? So when you calculate the integral of this function, or the definite integral, remember on top here you write the upper limit. So the upper limit here, as you can see, it's 2. 2 is greater than 1, by the way, guys, okay? And then the lower limit is 1. And then what you do here, you put the function here, which is x squared minus 3x plus 2, and then the dx, right? So what is the next step? The next step, we integrate. As you can see, these are power rule. If you still remember power rule, these are power rule. I'm gonna leave a video in the description where I explain the power rule, right? So you integrate. Let me just integrate it here. So you have your y, you just put it in the bracket. So when you integrate this one, it's gonna be x squared plus 1 divided by 2 plus 1. Going to the next term, we're gonna have 3, and then we have x to the power of 1 plus 1 divided by 1 plus 1. Since this is a constant, or it doesn't have x, we just multiply these two with x. Remember, there's a power rule. There's no need for us to write c here, because I just showed you earlier on that the constant is gonna subtract each other. So even if you don't write it, it's fine, guys. You're not gonna get paralyzed for that. So here you write the upper limit, and then there you write the lower limit, right? So from here, let's just simplify it so that we can able to do it nicely. So this is gonna be x to the power of 3 over 3 minus 3x squared over 2 plus 2x, right? Do not forget to write the limit. So the next step here, after integrating, it's time for you to substitute now. In fact, You can substitute, but rather include this step if this is new to you guys, right? Rather include this step. It's time for you to distinguish now. All right, so the first the first bracket is for the upper limit, right? So there's a lot of rewriting here, but it's also fine. So the first bracket, you put your upper limit minus, and then the second bracket is for the lower limit, right? Just try to be quick here, guys. All right, so the first bracket is for the upper limit and the second bracket is for the lower limit. Guys, always the lower limit is subtracting the upper limit. So the second bracket, it's always for the lower limit, guys, and it's subtracting always, right? So let's continue. So here the next step is we substitute wherever there is x, we substitute with our limit. So let's do it here. So we're gonna have y is equaling to, wherever there is x, we put our limit. So we're gonna have 2 to the power of 3 over 3, right? Minus 3 multiplied by 2 to the power of 2 over 2. And then we have plus 2 multiplied by 2. And this is our first bracket. As you can see, the first bracket we substitute by the upper limit, right? So let's go to the second bracket for the lower limit. So wherever there is x, we substitute with the lower limit. So it's gonna be 1 to the power of 3 divided by 3 minus 3 multiplied by 1. Even if you don't write it, it's fine, but write it, plus 2 multiplied by 1, right? And then that's it. So from here, you just use your calculator, guys, and then you'll get the answer. Right, so if we use our calculator, this should give us negative 1 over 6, right? And then that's it. Look, guys, the reason why it's negative is because of the area we are calculating it underneath here. As you can see, why it's negative here, just in case you don't understand why is it negative. Or you can have 0 comma negative 0 comma 1667, right? Let me just show you. Let me highlight very quickly. We are actually calculating the area here, guys. You understand? So when you look at your y here, the y here, it's negative from 0 to there. Going downwards, it's actually negative. Hence, we have our negative answer. Please don't get confused by this. If it was something like this, I'm just making an example again, then our area was going to be positive, or our limit, our integral was going to be positive. So do not get confused. All right, but anyway, this is basically what I was trying to show you here, guys, right? So let's recap. Do not forget, guys, whenever you are given a limit, you must have the upper limit and the lower limit. So the upper limit is the biggest number compared the two. So the greater number is the upper limit and the lower number is the lower limit. So the range that is given to you, sometimes it's the intercept, sometimes it's gonna be given to you, but you're gonna have the lower and the upper limit, right? So after that, you integrate your function, or the function is gonna be given to you. It's really up to you. It's really up to the question, and then you integrate it. After integrating, you write your upper limit there and the lower limit underneath there. Then from there, you rewrite your integral, but then you must have the upper limit minus the lower limit. Then from there, you start substituting, and then you put this on your calculator, then you get your final answer. Guys, I hope this makes sense. So before I close this video, because it's gonna be long, I just wanna let you know that, guys, the questions that they're gonna be given to you, they're gonna give you something like this. They'll give you something like this. They say, find the definite integral of the following. Maybe you have something like this, pi and then 0, then you have maybe sine 2x, right? And then they say find the definite of this integral. So first of all, you need to integrate this and then from there you do this substitution I'm talking about. So I'm not gonna do this now on this video, I'm gonna do it on the next coming video. So subscribe to the channel. Also, do not forget to like this video if this helps you to understand the definite integrals. If you don't understand, you can also comment on the comment section, and also you can go to the description where I left the video about indefinite integrals, because indefinite integrals and definite integrals, they are not that similar, but they are quite similar, because at the end of the day you are integrating. All right guys, thank you very much guys for watching. Till next time, cheers.